So I am on to my most favourite part of the day, which is interviewing local consumers so that they can share their experience. Now, these two, I'm going to warn you, I may have to cut them off. They do like a chat, but we do have a time limit, girls, so I will be keeping you to message. But it's been a joy to spend time with both of you. If you want to take your seats up there, both of you, as we prepare for this panel session. And I would encourage people to ask questions. Just put your hand up and ask questions if you like.
Where are you sitting?
You two sit there.
Yeah.
I'm just going to need my team to make sure I stay on time because these two are problematic students. So, welcome Michelle and Tracey. Michelle, we'll start with you. Just a little bit about yourself and your breast cancer experience.
Hi everyone. I was 41 when I was diagnosed. I was diagnosed triple positive, so ER, PR and HER2 positive. The whole lot in one go. The initial diagnosis was a very scary time. But I soon learned to navigate my way through and do it the best way I could and the most positive way I could, because at the time my two girls were 4 and 6. So that was, for me, that was my challenge. That was the hardest part for me out of all of it.
And we're going to come back to that in 1 second. So Tracey, you do an intro and then I've got a question.
Just wondering what stage.
Oh, Sally? I had lymph node involvement. Stage, there you go.
What stage?
Stage 3. Sorry, I'm a bit above all that. We forget all that. Thanks.
Tracey.
Hi everyone. I was diagnosed at 46 years old. I had 4 children, all different ages. Youngest was 6. And I had the estrogen positive, the hormone positives. I thought I was pretty much going to die then. I actually didn't have all this positivity in that at the time. I was quite stressed and, found it very hard. I struggled. But over time, I did find ways to get through it all. And then in 2018, it metastasised to my liver. So then I had 4 big, like a 5 centimetre tumour in my liver, all breast cancer again. So over the last 4 years, I then went on to a different treatment, and it was actually way better than the first time treatment. And I'm still here 4 years later, feeling pretty good. I live a very healthy, happy, wonderful life. Life's wonderful, and I just feel like I'm grateful for every moment.
So Tracey, one of the things we know is that people, once they're diagnosed with early breast cancer, have enormous fear of their breast cancer coming back. That happened to you. On reflection, what advice would you kind of give yourself now back in those early days? Because I think the fear is real for people, and what we want to do is acknowledge it, but help people to understand that, you have gone on to have metastatic disease. But, what would you tell yourself now?
The whole time, if I could wind back the time, I just worried unnecessary for everything. And I wish I didn't, because I'm still here 10 years later. And if I had have not worried so much in those first few years, I probably would have had a lot better of a time at the time. But eventually I did stop worrying, and I started doing things that I was scared to do. I was always fearful of travelling in case the plane crashed, or, I was always a worrier and anxious, but I actually let a lot of that go and have done a lot of things now that I certainly wouldn't have done. So still live your life. Your life is still there. It's you can kind of think about giving it all up and am I going to be around? But before you know it, you actually still are around, and you don't want to miss those days. Every day's really precious.
Yeah, such great advice. So, Michelle, take us back to that day of diagnosis. And I do want to acknowledge that for people going back to those moments in time, I really want to appreciate both of you opening yourselves up, being vulnerable and allowing us to learn from your experience. And that's always brave and always very generous of spirit for you to give us those insights. But when you think back to that day, do you remember it vividly? What do you remember
Absolutely.
about it?
I remember everything about that day. Prior to this, though, I was convinced. I think I knew in myself that it was cancer. I was making the kids lunchboxes. My doctor had said to me, if we ring you and ask you to bring your partner in, you know it's bad news. I said, okay. Oh, she's
Which may as well tell you. You've got it finally.
But that's my GP, and I had asked her from the very first appointment I saw her in the October prior to be upfront with me. Don't beat around the bush. Don't give me no, mumbo jumbo. I need to know, because that's how I function best, and that's how I can control things. I'm very much a control freak.
I wouldn't have picked that.
So I was making the kids' lunches. The phone rang at 8:10 in the morning. My husband was at work, and he works over on the gas plant in Gladstone, so it's a ferry ride, so you can't just up and leave. And the receptionist asked me to come in, and I said, what time? And she said, oh, any time, but as soon as you can get here. And she goes, okay. I said, do I need to bring my husband? Oh, yes, please. That would be preferable. And I mean, I knew. So hubby got away from work. They got him off the island straight away, and we went to the GP, and I walked in and she just gave me a big hug. Before anything was even said, she just gave me a big hug and she apologised. And I looked at her and I said, don't apologise. Like this, it's not something that you did. It's not something that anyone did. And I asked her, I said, am I going to die? That was my first question. She goes, yeah, of course, one day. So that sort of alleviated a bit of the stress for me. But then she told me that she'd arranged a meeting for me to meet Sally the next day, and gave me some paperwork and said, right, take this home, read it, don't think ahead, and focus on what's coming in the next few days.
Sounds like we all need a GP like this in our life, and sadly, you know, that isn't what people have access to, and I'm certainly hearing that the wait times for GPs here
it's
is
terrible.
3 to 4 weeks, which is a lot of anxiety. So, Carrie, we might pick up on that as a little tactic of how we can help people in those waiting times. So, Tracey, your metastatic diagnosis, tell us through, you're obviously diagnosed with early, 4 years later?
6 years.
6 years later. That day for you?
Yeah, actually, well, I was on holiday with my mum in Cairns having a good time, and I got this weird text saying, to come in when I didn't have an appointment, and I thought, hang on, what's going on? And, I went in.
Where was the text from?
That actually was from my oncologist, Dr. Manwaring back then. I had actually been lifting. I'd been clear. I live on a bit of a property, so I was out lifting gates and things, and thought I pulled my side, and it was a bit sore, and then it got worse, and it was really sore. And then, I luckily was having an appointment with my, just a regular, every year you have your appointment. And, they sent me in for a bit of a test, and that result came back. That's when I was told to come in. Yeah, I went in and was told, pretty much that it's come back. It's breast cancer in your liver. But that's okay. We've got treatments for it. My oncologist actually was very good. He was quite, in one way, he was not blasé about it, but he felt like, yeah, that's okay. There's new treatments coming all the time. So I just went into a bit of a shock again, I suppose, because, thought it was gone and it was back. So I just went along with what was going on. The treatment sounded really good. So I felt confident. I felt like they were confident that now we have this, we have that. It's amazing from what they've learnt since I first got diagnosed. And so even though I got diagnosed a second time and it was traumatic again, originally for, you know, in shock and everything for however long, it's really hard. But then I just thought, no, I can't let this fear get to me again because I went through all this first time. And yeah, they really do have a lot to help. And I feel like I just grasped it, took it by the hands, by the horns, whatever you say, and went, well, this is going to fix me up. I'm going to go my best way. So yeah, I felt positive.
Very, very good advice. I want to go on to side effects. We had a information forum on a webcast on long-term side effects. 3,500 people registered for it, which is a pretty good indication that this is something that our network is screaming for more information and often feel from health professionals that it's kind of sidelined or don't feel empowered to be able to ask the questions. Can you take us through some practical tips, Michelle, first of all, around how you've dealt with side effects? Other than being a naughty child, it looks like.
What, did you just catch me looking at Sally? I am a bit of a rat bag, I'm not going to lie.
Rat bag away, this is the safe place.
The side effects for me, I felt, like looking back, certainly not going through it at the time, but looking back, I can see that I managed relatively well. I had spoken to other women that had previously been through treatment, and the biggest tip of all was to stay on the medication, the anti-nausea medication that they give you when you're having your chemo. Even if you feel good, stay on it for those first few days. So I did that. It was my saviour. Yes, I still felt nauseous at times. I likened it to being pregnant. So morning sickness is what it really felt like. So for the first immediate day, I was okay. The next day, I sort of started to go downhill. But days 3 to 5 for me were, and how can I put this without saying what it really is? Like, it kicked my ass. It absolutely kicked my ass. There's no other way to say it. For me to walk from here to that chair was like I'd run a marathon. My heart would beat 1,000 miles an hour. I was out of breath. I was dizzy. It was horrible. The good thing was that didn't last. So for those couple of days, I would spend in bed as much as I could, and pretty much just slept because it's the only way I could get through those couple of days. But once I got through those couple of days, things started looking brighter and I felt good again. And knowing that for when I went into the second treatment made me feel 1,000 times better because I knew even though there was a really bad week, it got better. So there was good to look forward to. So I took that from it.
Yeah, and the control, right?
Yeah, that's it.
You can control. What about you, Tracey, living with the side effects for your treatments?
First treatment, well, with the first diagnosis, the chemo, of course, is very similar to Michelle, although I used to go in and take 10 tonne of food and a little DVD player and watch movies while I was getting injected in this port and eat. And, yeah, I was pretty happy. I thought I had to be there all day, so I might as well make the most of it. Then the same thing, yeah, mainly sleeping to get through it over the first few days. Then it got better and better. I seemed to feel better.
Or having a party on the first night because you're on the steroids? No parties. No, but yeah, and it just went like that. But then there's another treatment that you can have that went longer for months and months, and it really didn't make me sick at all. It was the Paclitaxel or something. It was really fine. I didn't find it was too much trouble. Yeah, so that was all right. I did have face breakouts like a teenager. One day I woke up and it was like big boils all over my face and I thought, what the hell? But they were gone the next day. That was weird. I don't know why I did that. But then second, my feet. I had a real issue with feet.
Anyone else?
neuropathy, and hands, like just to do your buttons up, and lots of problems like that. And my feet were terrible, and I just don't know. In the end, I got told by someone, and I don't even know if it was she didn't have cancer or was going through chemo, but she said, wear sneakers. Just wear sneakers, support. Yes, that's it, yes. And I actually wore them for 3 months straight, all day, nearly every day, except for bed. So I put on the sneakers, wear them with dresses or whatever, and I wore them. And then after that 3 months, all of a sudden I thought, I'm going to try a pair of shoes or thongs. I haven't worn sneakers since, and the pain has actually gone. I can't say that did it, but it certainly helped. Yeah.
And I think that's why these kind of events are so special. I remember, in fact, I think Carrie was around in those early years when we'd go to these forums and women would say, acupuncture is helping me with side effects, and the clinicians were like, whatevs. And now research has happened, and the clinicians are like, you should have acupuncture.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no shit. Look at you first. So, I think it's really important that we share these kind of experiences together. So, and I know frozen peas can help with, have helped with people with peripheral neuropathy in their hands, and putting them into freezing peas.
People
and
can pick things up.
Yeah. Well, that's right. And so I think it's so important to share those kind of learnings.
Yeah.
Now, and we'll come on to side effects when Rebecca speaks, and I know I'm conscious of time. I'm just trying to work out for my team how long I've got left. But I want to go on to well-intentioned friends and as well as communications. How, I think there's often this burden on the person who's been diagnosed to be that communicator. How did you deal with informing people, keeping people up to date, managing people, and then Michelle, I'm keen to talk to you after that around your kids as well. So maybe Tracey, how do you manage all of your communications?
I was kind of more, I don't know, you call an introvert, you could say. I'd prefer just to be at home, away from most people at that time. But I did join up some groups. Breast Buddies was one of them, and it was a lot of ladies that have had cancer, 20 odd years ago. And even though we got together and we'd have cuppas and food and talk about anything other than cancer half the time, they were still around, and they really inspired me, because those ladies, like, they've been there and done that, and they were still here. And I really thought, well, hang on, you're still here, well, I can still be here. So group support was a big thing. Telling people, friends and family, sometimes, I got used to saying it, and I sort of didn't mind telling people I've got this or this and that. They struggled more than me. I think a lot of people are like, especially when you're talking and you go, oh, yeah, I've got metastatic cancer, but I'm doing really well. And they sort of look at you, they don't know what to say. So I don't struggle with what I'm saying, but I don't know. Other people take it how they want.
Do you feel like you then compensate and try and help them deal with it?
Yeah, I actually just say, look, I'm fine. I'm getting through this. Like, it's all right, and then try and shift the subject a bit to maybe them, because I don't know what to say other than I'm doing well, and sometimes I feel I'm doing better than they are. They got more issues than me. So, I don't know.
I think when people in your life go through something, it can often be much more of a mirror reflecting back on the other people about what's going on in their life as well, which can be tricky to navigate. Michelle, how did you deal with communicating family and friends? Take me as someone who's pretty social.
I am.
Probably have a big network of mates that wanted to help.
I do. But a very wise lady told me, yes, Sally, I'm talking about you. She told me it's like housework. You start in the kitchen and you clean up the kitchen before you move to the bedroom. So this was the process of going through this. And the day she told me that was the day I met her. and it stuck with me. So that's actually how I approached telling my family. So my immediate family, I told, but I didn't tell them until I had answers to give, because I know the questions would have been, well, what do you have to have done? What chemo are you having? You know, do you have to have surgery? Rah, rah, rah. And it's just like, rah, slow down. I can't answer that many questions at once. I'm happy to talk to people. I was happy to tell people, well, happy is probably the wrong word, but, you know, I was okay with telling people I'd been diagnosed, but I wanted to control how much they knew at what time. So I told...
So how did you do that?
So I rang my immediate family, my mum, my dad, and all my sisters and my brother, and I told them all straight away. My dad, I did a face-to-face call. My dad and I are very close. That was a very hard phone call to make. And then once I had built up the courage, I suppose, and stopped myself from feeling physically sick to talk to my kids, I sat them down. But luck would have it is that I had a friend visit that weekend after I was diagnosed. Now, this lady who is very dear to our family, I call her mum, she went through breast cancer at the time, was 27 years ago. She's here in Rocky, actually. And she was coming down, so I rang her on the way and I said, look, I'm going to throw you under the bus. No warning. And she asked, and I said, well, I need to tell the kids while you're here, because my eldest, the only way that she processes things to be right in her mind is visual. So I thought this is the perfect opportunity. So when Glenys got there, you know, we said g'day, we had lunch, whatever, and we sat down in the lounge room and got the girls in there and sat them down. And I asked them, so Harper is my eldest, she was 6. So what did I say she was? 6? Oh, I've got no memory. 6 at the time. My youngest, Ava, well, she couldn't care less. She was doing cartwheels in the lounge room. She was having a whale of a time. And I said to Harper, I said, do you know what cancer is? She said, yeah, Mum, it's a disease in your body that kills you. Okay, right. I said, yeah, it can, but not all cancers do that. I said, and a lot of cancers are very, very treatable. Now, she knew I'd been going for tests. I'd never said anything up to this point, and she pointed to me and she said, is that what that is? And I said, yeah, it is. And she went very quiet. So we spoke about it. We kept it real. There was no bullshit. It was, Mum has breast cancer, but this is what's going to happen. I'm going to lose my hair because I'd been told. And she looked at me, and my youngest daughter said, well, how are you going to go out if you've got no hair? Doesn't really matter what I look like. Doesn't matter what we look like. Our hair is not us. That's not me. And then I looked at Harper and I said, see, Mum's sitting over there. And she says, yeah. I said, she had breast cancer 27 years ago. She looked at me and she goes, oh, Mum, and she's old and got hair. And that was her response. So for her, that was a great way to show her that Mum was, in fact, going to be okay. And it actually settled her enough to be able to understand that it didn't matter what was coming ahead for us as a family, I was going to be okay. They knew I was going to feel sick. They knew I was going to have no hair. They knew that I was going to feel absolutely wretched. They joined in on a chemo session because I'd had my port and we'd explained how it all worked. They come in and they watched. We've never kept anything from them, obviously age appropriate. And yeah, once I had the surgery, well, a whole new kettle of fish with them two have come out now. They take great pleasure in telling people that Mum has new boobs and no nipples. It doesnthink matter who they're talking to.
Yeah, the teachers were rapt to know.
There is absolutely no secrets in our house.
Having many teachers in my life, kids tell them everything and they're not always telling them the whole story.
We need to be more like kids. We do.
Totally. So thank you for sharing that, and please start asking questions at any time. Tracey, we know there's lots of challenges with living in rural areas. For someone like you who will face ongoing treatment for the rest of your life, what are some things you do to help get over some of those barriers of living in a regional area? Or do you see them all as, but I've never met anyone so positive as you. So you might only see things as positive, but which is awesome.
Well, with the treatment I'm on now, it's tablets. So I don't have to go and I got my port taken out just before I got re-diagnosed, I think. But anyway, I'm not going back there. They just give me tablets. So I take the tablet 3 weeks in a row, then I have a week off. And other than that, I have a monthly blood test, which I have to have, which is great, really. You know, I've got no veins, but they still get some blood. But yeah, I have no issues with the medication I'm on. If anything, it makes me probably feel okay, like as in has energy. I do have quite a lot of energy. I feel quite fine. I function normally. The only issue is I do, letrozole is something that blocks your hormones. So I'm old lady sort of feeling with when it comes to, you know, your partner. I don't really care if he's there or not half the time.
Well, if you're happy to go there, we'll go there because this is something that often is the taboo, the thing that no one wants to talk about, including in the medical team. But we are in a safe place now. How do you overcome the challenges of treatment and also a partnership, a relationship?
Well, I have to actually mentally psych myself up to give him some time and sort of go, right, I need to do date night or something because, you know, he loves me and he's a wonderful husband and he's fantastic. I actually don't know how he can put up with me, but he does. So I have to put that time in and go, right, you know, I'll spend some time with you. Let's have some wine or just delicious dinner and no children and watch movies or just do something, date night, and actually talk and, yeah, try and find what we had back before cancer. And it's really good. I mean, we do have a good time and connect, I suppose you could say. But it has to be worked on, honestly. But then I'm alive. So if I have to take these medications that adjust to my hormones or whatever it does, you know, we can deal with that. I'm here. We can have our date night every now and then and we can still be happy. But yeah, it does change you. It changes your body. You're not yourself anymore. So, you know, you just have to live with that new normal. It's a new normal.
Finding new magic.
Yeah, in different ways.
What about you, Michelle? Any advice on lubricants?
Other than sitting in a bucket of it.
The thing that I always know that happens after we've been in town is the pharmacists get real busy with lube.
Wait, honestly, you need shares in it. I remember telling Sally one day I went into treatment and I'm like, I can hear myself walking around the house. And she... It's like sandpaper. I was like... It's really that bad. I'm not going to lie. Sorry, but she did give me some advice, but I'm not, I wasn't ready to take it on board because I wasn't happy to be floating around with being all, you know, slippery and yucky just to go and do my shopping. I only wanted that for special time. Look, for me, I'm really fortunate. My husband is very understanding, very. We'd been through a lot to try and have our children. Like, we had 13 years of trying for kids. So, I mean, we'd been down this path. But to be honest, sex was the last thing on my mind. I'm like, oh, no, thank you. But having said that, as time's progressed, my body has come back to me. Like, I'm Michelle 2.0, I'm back, and I'm not going to lie, I've been randy at times. Like, it comes back, it happens. It just, it just takes time. And it's one thing that I chose not to focus on, because had I focused on it, this is what would have mucked me up. Because the more I thought about it, the more I didn't want it, and then the more I stressed about it, and, well, you couldn't get any drier than what it was. So
I love the bar thing. I've got a mental note of you just sitting in a bar with Blue.
wow.
Well, and I think that reassurance of finding the new you, but also the importance of talking about it and finding places that you feel safe to be able to talk about it, either with your partner, but also with the nurses, with your GP, with your treating team is really important. And I think often we deprioritise those kind of discussions, but actually that's what's looking after your wellbeing.
Well, they're the things that you don't get spoken to about. Okay, so you have your chemo education and they tell you don't have sex for 48 hours? I can't even remember. It's about, something.
Sounds
please
like what
forgive
they tell
me.
athletes to do to build up their testosterone. But anyway.
But that's all they tell you. So there's nothing else. And I'm a very open person, which Sally came to find out very quickly. I do ask a lot of questions and I like to know things, and nothing is out of bounds for me. But in being that way, I've been able to ask questions of people, and I've been able to tell people the things that don't get spoken about, because I don't believe that these are things that should be shoved to the side. We all go through it. And the more that we can empower each other, like there might be one little thing I've said to you today that might help, there may not, but somewhere down the track, it might make you think, oh, I heard that. That worked. Just...
Normal.
Yeah, and it is. It's really normal. Really normal. Yeah.
So we are going to have to wrap it up, but I have asked you to think about if you could tell yourself one thing that you wish you'd known back at the beginning that you'd know now, or a kind of a key message you want to tell people. What is it?
I had it written down because I've got a really bad memory,
Well,
but I thought it sounded really good.
In a room with a bad memory, right?
You got your glasses.
Oh, thank you. No, it sounded, and that is a thing. I told my husband that so many times and he still didn't believe me. Oh, you're just doing that to annoy me. Oh, I do that to annoy you. Okay. Sorry. I'm panicking now. All right. Okay, final message. Okay. Cancer, we know, is devastating news and it does change your life. But one thing I did realise is how lucky I am, as there are way, way more people worse off than myself. I know it sounds weird because people think you've got metastatic cancer. How can there be worse? But there is way worse than me. So it's given me the push to live my life more. I'm quite adventurous now and do a lot of things, go camping, travelling overseas, which I'm going to Thailand in a few weeks, and doing whatever happens. But I'm very grateful that I'm alive, and this is what I wanted to say. You can live your life in your despair and let the fear take over, and it will destroy the life you're living. Or you can live with more positivity, and the day will just be a bit nicer. Even if you're pretending to be positive, eventually it'll take on. You'll feel it, and you feel more happier. And then at least you're living feeling happy, not miserable, and that's living. That's what I want to say.
Yep.
No pressure, Michelle.
Oh, look, absolutely 100% what Tracey has just said. For me, the biggest thing that I learnt that I would hope other women could take benefit from, and men going through a cancer diagnosis, is to, like everyone tells us, be positive. And I mean, we all know we have days, even pre-cancer, that we have shitty days. Thank you, Sally, for reminding me of that. And we do. So it's okay to have bad days. Let them happen, because if you don't, it will just build up and it will fester. And if you're anything like me, you'll just explode and look like a crazy lunatic, because I did it for the first probably month or so. And then I allowed myself to have those bad days. Allow the story to unfold exactly as it is. Don't push aside your feelings. Go with them. Find the positivity. So find it. I don't say be positive all the time, because it's just impossible. Find the positive parts of your journey and stick with them. I can't stress that enough. If you can find them, you'll get perspective, and perspective is my biggest word out of any of this in life now. Perspective. I live for perspective. You must find that, because there is always someone worse off. We may not think it at the time, but we're sitting here today to tell you that it's all very, very possible to come out the other side and end up being crazy like us. But there's just, modern medicine is so amazing that we are just so lucky and so fortunate in our country. And I truly hope that everyone here today, if you are going through your journey now or have been through a journey, you can find the sunshine after the storm.